All right, once again, I'm going to be reading from the book of the Course of the Heavenly Luminaries. The sun, the movements of the sun. We're going to get the sun movements. We're going to get all this right here. Sun movements, the moon and its phases, and the lunar year. Okay? And we're going to watch this right here as I read these scriptures in this book that was taken out the Bible. You're going to understand why it was taken out the Bible. So while I'm reading, I'm going to press this little bunny rabbit here, and it's going to speed up the whole thing so you can see exactly how this works. And you're going to hear the words, and I hope that you get the understanding when you hear what is being read and you're seeing the motions, okay? I'm showing you why the book of Enoch is so important, why this flat earth is so important, and why one must understand the truth. So let's do it. The book of the Course of the Luminaries of the Heaven, the relations of each according to their classes, their dominion, and their seasons, according to their names and places of origins, and according to their months, which Uriel, the holy angel who was with me, who is their guide, showed me, and he showed me all their laws exactly as they are, and how it is with regard to all the years of the world and unto eternity, until the new creation is, I have to turn the page, until the new creation is accomplished. Until the new creation is accomplished, which endures until eternity. And this is the first law of the luminaries. The luminary, the sun, has its rising in the eastern portals of the heaven and its setting in the western portals of the heaven. And I saw 6 portals in which the sun rises, and 6 portals in which the sun sets. And the moon rises and sets in these portals, and the leaders of the stars and those whom they led, 6 in the east and 6 in the west, and all following each other in accurately corresponding order. You see how they're following each other? Look at that. If you guys really want to get it really going here, let's see. Since it's talking about the stars too. Look at that. Okay, look. Also, many windows to the right and left of those portals. And first there goes forth the great luminary, named the sun, and his circumference is like the circumference of heaven. And he is quite filled with illuminating and heating fire. The chariot on which he ascends is the chariot on which he ascends, the wind drives, and the sun goes down from the heaven and returns through the north in order to reach the east, and is so guided that he comes to the appropriate portal that shines in the face of the heaven. In this way he rises in the first month in the great portal, which is the 4th, those 6 portals in the east, and in the 4th portal from which the sun rises in the first month are 12 window openings, from which proceedeth a flame when they are open in their season, when the sun rises in the heaven, and he comes forth through that 4th portal 30 mornings in succession. So he goes 30 mornings in succession. That's a whole month, isn't it? And sets accurately in the 4th portal in the west of the heaven. Doesn't the sun, isn't this the east over here? Isn't this the west? See how the sun goes and returns to the north to come down to the east to rise in the eastern portals and set in the western portals. But this is the closest thing we got, because we don't know where these portals are or what they look like. So how can we have an accurate model? We know it's not a globe, okay, because the globe doesn't show us the windows to heaven. It shows us the Van Allen belts and the radiation belts and the atmosphere, and it doesn't even show us the firmament, right? They don't tell us what the firmament is. The firmament is the sky. The sky is called heaven. Okay? Why do you think he said, oh, look, it's lighting up outside. What time is it? It's 7:01. Okay, so at 7:10, as I stated, it's going to be fully brightened up out there. And then the sun is going to rise at around 7:24. Okay, but let's continue with reading this. This is very important. Okay, here it says, let me get back over here. Sorry. During this period, the day becomes daily longer and the night nightly shorter to the 13th morning. On that day, the day is longer than the night by a ninth part, and the day amounts exactly to 10 parts and the night into 8 parts. And the sun rises from the 4th portal and sets in the 4th and returns to the 5th portal in the east 30 mornings and rises from it and sets in the 5th portal. And when the day becomes longer, isn't that daylight savings? Okay, pay attention to these things. And when the day becomes longer by 2 parts, and amounts to 11 parts, and the night becomes shorter and amounts to 7 parts, and it returns to the east and enters into the 6th portal, the 6th portal, and rises and sets in the 6th portal 1 and 30 mornings, 31 mornings. It rises and sets in the 6th portal on account of its sign. And on that day, the day becomes longer than the night, and the day becomes double the night, and the day becomes 12 parts, and the night is shortened and becomes 6 parts. And the sun mounts up to make the day shorter and the night longer. And the sun returns to the east and enters into the 6th portal and rises from it and sets 30 mornings. And when 30 mornings are accomplished, the day increases by exactly 1 part and becomes 11 parts, and the night 7 parts. And the sun goes forth, right? The sun goes forth from the 6th portal in the west and goes to the east and rises in the 5th portal for 30 mornings and sets in the west again in the 5th western portal. On that day, the day decreases by 2 parts and amounts to 10 parts, and the night to 8 parts. So it sounds like the Most High created a very, very intelligent and a very, very intriguing earth, to where the sun and the moon goes through these portals, and during these times they are doing certain things that we see happening in the sky. So I tell you, why was this book taken out the Bible? Remember what the Bible said? They will add in and take out. And what happens to those that add in and take out? Okay? So the Bible is very clear about these things here. And the sun goes forth from that 5th portal and sets in the 5th portal of the west and rises in the 4th portal for 1 and 30 mornings on account of its sign, and sets in the west. On that day, the day is equalized with the night. That means they're both equal, and becomes of equal length, 12 hours and 12 hours. And the night amounts to 9 parts and the day into 9 parts, and the sun rises from the portal and sets in the west and returns to the east and rises 30 mornings in the 3rd portal and sets in the west in the 3rd portal. And on that day, the night becomes longer than the day, and the night becomes longer than night, and day shorter than day till the 13th morning. And the night amounts exactly to 10 parts and the day into 8 parts. And the sun rises from that 3rd portal and sets in the 3rd portal in the west and returns to the east. And for 30 mornings rises in the 2nd portal in the east, and in like manner sets in the 2nd portal of the west of the heaven. And on that day, the night amounts to 11 parts and the day into 7. And the sun rises on that day from that 2nd portal and sets in the west in the Excuse me. I'm just giving you guys a visual. I'm going to keep this running so you guys can see all this stuff that this book is talking about. And then we'll go back and get into the moon and its phases, and we'll play this without the, what's his name, so you can see the moon right there and its phases. We'll go back and we'll show you when we read the moon phases. Right now we're dealing with the sun and all. So I'm going to leave this running and I'm going to keep reading. So it returns in the second, in the east into the first portal for 1 and 30 mornings, and sets in the first portal in the west of the heaven. And on that day, the night becomes longer and amounts to double of the day, and the night amounts exactly to 12 parts, and the day to 6. And the sun has therewith traversed the divisions of his orbit, and turn. See, the sun is orbiting. You see that? The sun is orbiting. Okay. So here it says, and the sun has therewith traversed the divisions of his orbit, and turns again to those divisions of his orbit, and enters that 30 portal. Enters that portal 30 mornings, and sets also in the west opposite to it. And on that night has the night decreased in length by a 9th part, and the night has become 11 parts, and the day 7 parts, and the sun has returned and entered into the second portal in the east, and returns on those his divisions of his orbits for 30 mornings, rising and setting. And on that day, the night decreases in length, and the night amounts to 10 parts, and the day into 8. And on that day, the sun rises from that portal and sets in the west, and returns to the east, and rises in the third portal for 31 mornings, and sets in the west of the heaven. On that day, the night decreases and amounts to 9 parts, and the day to 9 parts, and the night is equal to the day, and the year is exactly as it is, days 364, not 365 like they're telling us, but 364. Okay, you see the phases of the moon, you see how it's half crescent and changing. Now you better now it's better to understand when you're dealing with a flat earth model that you can predict moon phases, eclipses, and everything with this, right? It's very easy. Okay. And the length of that day and of that night, and the shortness of the day and of the night arises through the course of the sun. These distinctions are made. They are separate, right? So it comes that its course becomes daily longer and its course nightly shorter. And this is the law, right? That word that everybody doesn't like. This is the law and the course of the sun, and his return as often as he returns 60 times and rises, i.e. the great luminary which is named the sun forever and ever. We know the sun is the sun, okay? And it says it in the Bible from the beginning. The sun is the sun. What does the sun do? The sun moves. The sun sits in the firmament, as it states in the beginning. So where did man screw up and tell us there's outer space and the sun is 93 million miles away? Why is it that they're telling us that, but the Bible's saying something different? Who created the earth? Did man and NASA create the earth, or did God create the earth? So if God created his earth for his good pleasure, shouldn't we be seeking from the one who created and built it? So here we have it. And that which thus rises is the great luminary, and is so named according to its appearance, according as the Lord commanded. As he rises, so he sets, and decreases not, and rests not, but runs day and night. And his light is sevenfold brighter than that of the moon. But as regards size, they are both equal in size. Okay, now let's get into the moon and its phases. Okay. Let's get into the moon and its phases. You see it here, moon and its phases. So we're gonna stop bunny rabbit that and go back to our original state of time. Right now, the moon is over Africa or whatever that is. No, the moon is, the moon is over like what? Africa? I believe that's Africa. Yeah, that's Africa. The moon is over Africa right now in the daytime, turning into night. All right, so let's get this. The moon and its phases, right? Now, you're going to see how this moon keeps changing as I read the moon and her phases. And you'll see that, the moon has its own light because the Bible says it, and God created two great lights, not one great light that gives light to the other light, but two great lights. The greater light, the sun, to rule the day, and the lesser light, the moon, to rule the night. And it was so. So we have to keep it written as it is written, right? So I don't see how all these scholars are disproving a flat earth when the Bible only proves it over and over and over and over, right? Because science tells us what? The sun sits still, we're the ones moving. This is why scientists are slowly creeping out saying that, hey, we could very well be the center of the universe. That's like saying, there's no other planets. There's no space. We're the only things out here. We're the only things that he created. Okay. So it's going to come out that the earth is flat, because when they don't make it to Mars and people really start asking, hey, wait, we're going back all these years. Obama said we're going to Mars. Bush said we're going to Mars. Bill Clinton said we're going to Mars. John F. Kennedy said we're going to Mars. Ronald Reagan said it. Richard Nixon said it. Why haven't we been there yet? We've advanced in all this technology, but we still can't go? What? They can't even go back to the moon, but they made it there in the 1950s, 1960s or something, 1940s. With the technology they had back then, they made it to the moon. But with the technology we have now, we just can't make it there anymore. It's a painful process to build the moon technology back again. So is it a painful process to build it better than what it was back then, dealing with the technology we have now? Does it make sense that these people can't go back to the moon, but they did before with that technology they had back then that has been destroyed, by the way? Why not draw up new blueprints with the new technology we have now? Why not do that? What's the problem with doing that? Oh, wait, it's a painful process to build it back again. But one of our first steps should be going to Mars or going back to the moon, but we just can't build that technology back again. Don Pettit said that. We can't build it back again, but one of our first missions should be to go back to the moon, then from there catapult ourselves to Mars. They never been to the moon, people. They never went. Buzz Aldrin said it on his deathbed confession. We didn't go there, and that's the way it happened. And if it didn't happen, then we want to know why something didn't happen that we wanted to keep it going. Money is a good thing. Okay? They're not going to come out and just tell you. You got to read between the lines. Here, how about this for reading between the lines? How about we do this? We'll go to a news article real quick. Actually, we'll go here. Right. I find this very fascinating. Zika, the earth is flat. Zika virus. Listen to what this guy says here. They're talking about Zika virus, but he keeps mentioning that the earth is flat. Listen.
Open first door. It's flat, right? The World Cup.
Listen.
And take every precaution you can.
You really say when you're out in public you need to wear a mosquito net? Is that the recommendation?
I think if your town has it and you are thinking of getting pregnant or are pregnant, yes, wear those mosquito nets. You can buy them for a couple dollars online. And they work. Wear long sleeve cotton pants, shirts, cover things up, wear socks.
Why are you so sure they're coming here?
Well, because mosquitoes, these kind of mosquitoes are here in the United States. And we now know that these mosquitoes can get Zika virus very easily from biting somebody. And the world is flat, right? The World Cup. Well, because mosquitoes, these kind of mosquitoes are here in the United States. And we now know that these mosquitoes can get Zika virus very easily from biting somebody. And the world is flat, right? Well, because mosquitoes, these kind of mosquitoes are here in the United States. And we now know that these mosquitoes can get Zika virus very easily from biting somebody. And the world is flat, right? Well, because mosquitoes, these kind of mosquitoes are here in the United States. And we now know that these mosquitoes can get Zika virus very easily from biting somebody. And the world is flat, right?
The world is flat. What does that have to do with Zika? But they slip it in like that, right? They slip it in. Nobody pays attention to it. Okay? The card states, people laugh, but the flat earthers know something. Well, what do we know? What do we know? What do we know? We know the truth. We know how everything works. We know how the earth functions based off how God said it functions, right? Now let's get the course of the moon and its phases. So let's bunny rabbit this again. After this law, I saw another law dealing with the smaller luminary, which is named the moon, and her circumference is like the circumference of heaven, and her chariot in which she rides is driven by the wind, and the light is given to her indefinite measure, and her rising and setting change every month, and her days are like the days of the sun, and when her light is uniform in it, i.e. full, it amounts to the seventh part of the light of the sun, and thus she rises, and her first phase in the east comes forth on the 13th morning, and on that day she becomes visible and constitutes for you the first phase of the moon on the 13th day, together with the sun in the portal where the sun rises. You see that? And the one half of her goes forth by the seventh part, and her whole circumference is empty without light, with the exception of 1/7 part of it and the 14th part of her light. When she receives 1/7 part of the half of her light amounts to 1/7 part and the half thereof. She sets with the sun, and when the sun rises, the moon rises with him and receives the half of one part of light. And in that night, in the beginning of her morning, in the circumference of the lunar day, the moon sets with the sun and is visible at night with the 14 parts of the half of one of them. And she rides on that day with exactly a seventh part, and comes forth and recedes from the rising of the sun, and in her remaining days she becomes bright with the remaining 13 parts. This is the lunar year. Okay, and I saw another course for her, a law for her, and how according to that law she performs her monthly revolution, right? Monthly. And all these, Uriel, the holy angel who was the leader of them all, showed me and their positions, and I wrote down their positions as he showed. Let me move this real quick. Okay. As he showed them to me, look at these movements. And I wrote down their months as they were, and the appearance of her lights till 15 days were accomplished. In single seventh parts, she accomplishes her lights, right? 7, 28. These are seventh parts, right? 21 is 7 times 3. 7 times 4 is 28, right? 14 times 2, 7 times 2 is 14. 7 times 3 is what? 21. So these are the 7 parts that they're talking about, right? See how the moon just disappeared? It talks about that, right? And I wrote down their months and the appearance of their lights till 15. Okay, I read that. Okay, here it is. And in the 7th part, she accomplishes her darkness in the west. And in certain months she alters her setting, and in certain months she pursues her own peculiar course. And in 2 months the moon sets with the sun, and in those 2 middle portals, the 3rd and the 4th, she goes forth for 7 days and turns about and returns again through the portal where the sun rises and accomplishes all her light. And she recedes from the sun, and in 8 days she enters the 6th portal from which the sun goes forth. And when the sun goes forth from the 4th portal, she goes forth 7 days until she goes forth from the 5th and turns back again in 7 days into the 4th portal and accomplishes her light. And she recedes and enters into the 1st portal of 8 days, and she returns again in 7 days into the 4th portal from which the sun goes forth. Thus I saw their position, how the moons rose and the sun set in those days. And if 5 years were added together, the sun has an overplus of 30 days, and all the days which occur to it for one of those 5 years, even they are full, amount to 364 days. So each year is supposed to amount to 364 days. So it's going to tell you here, and the overplus of the sun and of the stars amount to 6 days. In 5 years, 6 days every year come to 30 days. And the moon falls behind the sun and stars to the number of 30 days. And the sun and the stars bring in all the years exactly, so that they do not advance or delay their position by a single day until eternity. But complete the years with perfect justice in 364 days. In 3 years there are 1,092 days, and in 5 years 1,820 days, so that in 8 years there are 2,912 days. For the moon alone, the days amount in 3 years to 1,062, and in 5 years she falls 50 days behind, i.e. to the sun of 1,770. There is to be added 1,062 days, and in 5 years there are 1,770 days, so that for the moon the days in 8 years amount to 2,832 days. For 8 years she fall behind the sun the amount of for in 8 years she falls behind the amount of 80 days. All the days she falls behind in years are 80, and the year is accurately completed in conformity with their world stations and the stations of the sun, which rise from the portals through it, the sun rises and sets 30 days. Here we go. I'm gonna finish it up with this last one here, as you guys continue to look at this, as you get all the full information. In truth, what is 7 times 5 and what is 7 times 6? 35 and 42, the 7th parts, right? So this is where real math comes into the equation. Okay, so like I said before, You know, people act like God's not the master of science and math, and he didn't build this earth flat and very, very, if you're listening to this, it is a very creative way to create our ecosystem to where we can survive in this thing, right? And the leaders of the heads of the thousands who are placed over the whole creation and over all the stars have also to do with the 4 intercalary days being inseparable from their office according to their reckoning of the year, and these render service on the four days which are not reckoned in the morning of the year, and owing to them men go wrong therein. For those luminaries truly render service on the world stations, right? The world stations. One in the first portal, one in the third portal of the heaven, one in the fourth portal, and one in the sixth portal. And the exactness of the year is accomplished through its separate 364 stations. For the signs and the times and the years and the days, the angel Uriel showed to me, whom the Lord of glory hath set forth. Whom the Lord of glory hath set forever over all the luminaries of the heaven, in the heaven and in the world, not in outer space, but in the world, that they should rule on the face of the earth, on the face of the heaven, and be seen on the earth. So if, like he said, so they're close so that they can be seen. Okay, the moon's not 238,000 miles away, and the sun is not 93 million miles away, and the moon is not 238,000 miles away. It says it right here in Enoch. Now, do you understand why they took the book of Enoch out of the Bible? This clearly states that the earth is flat. In so many ways, it states that. Just dealing with the sun and the moon, how they move, it tells you we're in something. Okay? And the leaders for the day and the night, i.e. the sun, the moon, and the stars, and all ministering creatures which make their revolution in all the chariots of the heaven, in like manner 12 doors Uriel showed me open in the circumference of the sun's chariot in the heaven, through which the rays of the sun break forth, and from them is warmth diffused over the earth. When they are open at their appointed seasons, and for the winds of and the spirit of the dew, when they are open, standing open in the heavens at the ends, right? So at the ends of heaven, basically. As for the 12 portals in the heavens, at the ends of the earth, right? At the ends of the earth. Where's the ends of the earth on the ball? Okay, so it doesn't make sense. Okay, it don't. And notice how this map looks like the United Nations map, right? Okay, so it says here, as for the 12 portals in the heaven, at the ends of the earth, which go out of which go forth the sun, moon, and stars. No planets. I don't hear any planets anywhere in the book of Enoch. And all the works of heaven in the east and in the west. There are many windows open to the left and right of them, and one window at its appointed season produces warmth corresponding as these do. Oh boy, this is a lot of information to take in, so this is about to end in a minute. Okay. To those doors from which the stars come forth according as he has commanded them, and wherein they set corresponding to their number. And I saw chariots in the heaven running in the world above those portals in which revolve the stars and never set. And one is larger than all the rest, and it is that makes its course through the entire world. So it says here the 12 winds and their portals. So it tells you about the winds and stuff that blow on the earth, how they blow, what makes the wind blow. It does not happen because the earth is rotating. God has set up windows and doors to his creation to let wind in and all that stuff, right? Let's just read this. Let's get off this flat earth this flat earth map. Let's look at the winds, right? Tell me if your ball earth can explain this, right? This is what happens at the ends of the earth. Once again, there are ends to the earth. I saw 12 portals open to all the quarters of the heaven, from which the winds go forth and blow over the earth. 3 of them are open on the face, i.e. the east of the heavens, and 3 in the west, 3 on the right, i.e. south of the heaven, and 3 on the left, the north, and the 3 first are those of the east, and 3 are of the north, and 3 after those on the left of the south, and 3 of the west. Through 4 of these come winds of blessing and prosperity, and from those 8 come harmful winds. When they are sent, they bring destruction on all the earth and all the water upon it, and on all who dwell thereon, and on everything which is in the water and on the land. And the first wind from those portals is called the east wind, comes forth through the first portal, which is in the east, inclining towards the south. From it comes forth desolation, drought, heat, and destruction. And through the second portal in the middle comes what is fitting. And from it there comes rain and fruitfulness and prosperity and dew. And through their third portal, which lies toward the north, comes cold and drought. And after these come forth the south winds. Through these portals, through the first portal of them inclining to the east, comes forth a hot wind. And through the middle portal next to it, there comes forth fragrant smells and dew and rain and prosperity and health. And through the third portal lying to the west come forth dew and rain, locusts and desolation. After these, the north winds come forth. From the seventh portal in the east come dew and rain and locusts and desolation. And from the middle portal come in a direct direction health and rain and dew and prosperity. And through the third portal in the west come cloud and hoarfrost and snow and rain and dew and locusts. And after these 4 are the west winds. Through the first portal adjoining to the north come forth dew and hoarfrost and cold and snow and frost. And from the middle portal come forth dew and rain and prosperity and blessing. And through the last portal, which adjoins the south, come forth drought and desolation and burning and destruction. And the 12 portals of the 4 quarters of the heaven are therewith completed. And all their laws and all their plagues and all their benefactions have I shown to thee, my son Methuselah. So you got to ask yourself, how is it that, certain spots on the, like, he has windows, he has doors, he has portals. You see locust plagues coming. Who's sending the locust plagues in those large numbers? It tells you in the book of Enoch which window it comes from. The south, west, and the southeast, and the south portals. Okay? We also see the burning happening, right? We see droughts, right? So it clearly tells you how God set up his earth. Now you know what creates these things. There's no scientific thing that you need when you see this and you understand that we live on this, right? You understand that we live on this, right? You understand that there's windows, right? Windows, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3. This is what he's talking about, right? These windows. It could be like, you know, this is a portal, that's a portal, that's a portal, that's a portal. Wait, let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, so those are the 9 parts that it talks about. The day and the night becomes, you know, 9 parts and they're equal, right? And then this is dealing with the moon, the sun, you know, and as you see closely, this is those portals in the windows. It goes through these lines, intersects, and comes out. And see how the moon is, the sun is going out farther to this line. In the summer, it comes in closer to this line here in this little circle location. So you get a clear understanding that, yeah, the flat earth is important. It is very complicated. You will not comprehend these things. And you see how the moon is moving and shifting and it's full now. You know, this is when it's in that portal, 92 and 85, 100% and 92, right? This is the moon at 100% and it's directly across from the sun, just as the book of Enoch says, when it's through that same portal as the sun when it rises and sets, okay? So that's why it says during the 7 days and the months, the moon goes back, you know, sometimes, or it goes forward. It makes its own course, basically. The sun stays in its own course because that's the course that remains forever and ever. Shalom, and I hope people actually look at this video and understand it and really consider looking into the flat earth and really consider having an open mind to understand these things. And as you see, it's 6:42 and it's daylight. I mean 7:42 and it's bright outside. Let's take a little walk outside real quick. See what it looks like outside. Because I'm pretty sure when I step out my door, the sun is going to be up above that horizon. All right. Just so people could, you know, see it for themselves. Okay. Now, is that accurate proof or what? Right? The sun is coming up right beyond the horizon, just like I showed you on the flat earth model. Okay. The moon is right behind the sun now, so let's just take a little trip out front so you guys can see. Right. Now I'm gonna start looking at my flat earth sun moon clock every day. And I'm gonna start telling you guys, predicting, you know, the moon phases and where the moon is gonna be when the sun is out. Because right now the sun is in front of the moon. And as you see, here's the sun right here. It's above the horizon, just like my flat earth sun moon clock said. It's rising, right? You see that? See that? Beautiful sunrise, right? They say you need a filter to see this, but you see the sun rising right above the horizon, and it is 7:44, right? I'm 20 minutes late because I wanted to get it right on time, but hey, it's still in that general time frame. So, shalom. Hope you guys look into this, and I hope this explains things for you guys. Shalom.